I'm joining the celebration late in the afternoon, guys. Came in a little bit later than I wanted to, but hey, I'm here and we're streaming it live. And let's enjoy the celebrations. All right. So let me get the audio back up and so you guys can hear the festivities, the music that's going on. So
Welcome here, everyone, to Live Now from Fox, as we have several different vantage points from inside the Capital One Arena. We saw the motorcade where President Trump is now already at inside this arena. This was the same arena that, of course, held yesterday's festivities for the pre-inauguration, really extended weekend for this very historic moment for President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. So in just a little bit, we will hear from President Trump once again, as well as some other speakers and performers, all right here on Live Now from Fox. And of course, when events like this get going, we bring it to you live, raw, and always unfiltered, showcasing some of the biggest moments today, of course, in this inauguration, and then later tonight showing some great highlights from already earlier today. It looks like we are going to be getting some speakers coming up here in just a little bit, so we will be listening in right here on Live Now from Fox as we bring you all of the sights and sounds.
that's what I'm talking about. Good music, man. Good American music, you know? Loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it.
Army Field Band from Fort Meade, Maryland. They are led by Commander Lieutenant Colonel Domingo S. Robinson. The U.S. Army Field Band develops positive connections on behalf of the Army, the Department of Defense, and the United States through live music, multimedia performances, television productions, and emergent technologies, traveling thousands of miles annually across our nation and around the world, and appearing regularly on major television and streaming events. The Field Band proudly honors our soldiers and veterans while strengthening ties with communities worldwide.
It's a beautiful sight to see. Don't you agree? A beautiful sight to see. Can't be mad at this. it. Just having fun.
When you are watching live now from Fox as we get you ready for this Capital One Arena inaugural parade ceremony. And as you can see, that there are many executive orders on the desk where President Trump will sign in front of this big crowd. Some over 18,000 people at the Capital One Arena coming up here in just moments. So, of course, we will be bringing that to you right here on Live Now from Fox when that does happen. We are awaiting the entrance right now for President Trump. He is now inside the arena, and soon that will happen. And, of course, we will continue to bring you this coverage live, raw, and always unfiltered right here. Well, that is going to do it for my time here on the desk. My colleague Andy Mack is going to be with you now for the next several hours, bringing you the afternoon and evening portion here of this historic Inauguration Day.
As you know, some people are really upset and some people are really happy. Where do you stand? What's your opinion? Are you watching the inaugural? Are you unhappy? Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you glad? Please comment. Tell us what you think. I would love to hear what you think. All right? Because I, for one, always anticipated that Donald Trump was going to be the next president. And when family members and friends would debate and say, he would never be the next president. He's a racist. He's evil. He's this, he's that. And I'm saying to myself, hey, I look at the facts. I look at what has been done. I look at what he has done the history of what people say he has done, some of the recorded things that he has done, and I look at the history of his opponents and what they've done, right? His predecessor, what he did, and I looked at the nation as a whole as exactly what has been happening. When I watch TV and I see the agendas that have been pushing, and I'm like, we need some common sense here. This is ridiculous. I have a child that's going to grow up, and these kind of people are going to be pushing these kind of agendas on my child and other children that don't want this to be constantly be bombarded. And I say, you know what? People are upset, and Donald Trump is going to be the next president. I didn't have this heartwarming feeling for Donald Trump being the president, and I didn't have a somber feeling for him being a president. I just looked at what was going on, what has been going on in the past 4 years, and ramped up in the recent 2 years. Like, the agenda was wild. I couldn't believe it. And myself, my colleagues, my friends, people that are conscious, people that don't see the things for what they, how should I say? People that are conscious and see the things for what should be and not for what is being pushed on us. And we all felt that Donald Trump was going to be the next president. Most of the people I know, right, I voted for Donald Trump. My mom cursed me when I said, hey, you need to look at the facts, because if you don't, you'll be spewing the same propaganda like everyone else. And to me, that made no sense. So here we are. Donald Trump is the next president, and many people are angry. Many people are saying that he's going to destroy the country. He's going to try to be the next king. And I get text messages about signing the No Kings Act. And I'm like, what? The No Kings Act? The Constitution writes against that. You cannot be a king in a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. The forefathers that created the Constitution put certain guidelines in place that there can never be a king in the United States. And so when I get these text messages and people talking about he's going to try to become the king, and I'm like, oh man, are you serious? Do you really understand? You should know the country that we're living in and at least know something about the Constitution that it prohibits that. But let's continue. I'm having fun here today.
Where he did make remarks over an hour laying out his plan. And earlier on today, after swearing in, that's where the plan very much began. We did see him make some penmanship of the cabinet positions, acting secretaries, different things there at the U.S. Capitol. Tonight he's going to do some of these executive actions, these plans, implementation of different orders, a flurry of them, some 200 different executive orders in place today here on day number 1 of his second term in office in the White House. And you can see the presidential seal there and the table off to the left portion of your screen where he will be signing many of these executive actions. But they're diving back into another song. Let's listen in. As we await the next comments there from President Trump, I want to take you back a little bit to some remarks he made earlier on today. President Trump's second inaugural address sounded a lot like his first, talking about a sweeping indictment of the country he inherits and grand promises to fix its problems. 8 years ago, it was Trump that described it as American carnage and promised to end it immediately on Monday. He declared the country's, quote, decline will end immediately, ushering in a, quote, golden age of America, end quote. Trump added a long list of policies that sounded more like a State of the Union speech than an inauguration address, but the broad themes fundamentally very much to the theme of Trump setting him up as a national savior. Breaking tradition, the Republican president delivered his remarks from inside the Capitol rotunda due to bitter cold outside. He spoke to several hundred elected officials, also VIPs, tech titans that included Elon Musk and others. So you see the crowd there patiently awaiting. We did see President Trump leave the Capitol in that motorcade, driving to downtown Washington, D.C., to this Capital One arena for these remarks, for these executive actions that will be taking place here. Just past 5 o'clock now is the time on the East Coast, so it's a busy day on Inauguration Day. Let's continue to listen in to some of these festivities.
The music is sounding lovely, and I am going to, be the conductor again. I'm going to conduct this music again. So, hey, check me out. Sounding good.
It's a good sign of things to come as the presentation,
Having fun.
Press conference will begin. This ceremony there at this parade will begin shortly. I believe some of Trump's grandchildren arriving there on the stage. We'll soon see other people as the motorcade making its way from the United States Capitol, where he was sworn in earlier on today, over to Capital One Arena. So as people take their seats, soon enough we'll see President Trump there in front of this crowd. Thousands, tens of thousands of people here inside of this arena. And obviously it is bitter cold, freezing temperatures outside as the reason they are not holding the inauguration outside, the reason they're not holding the parade outside. No military flyover, that was canceled due to the temperatures and just the weather in that area, as Washington, D.C., all the East Coast dealing with these very frigid temperatures, this cold snap that's coming and impacting so many portions of the United States. And you just see different people arriving for these remarks. It appears that the motorcade and different vehicles have made their way to Capital One Arena. It's likely that Trump could be in the building already. So we're just waiting to see his remarks, his executive actions in place. Let's just continue to listen in, as we do have these different vantage points. As you can see, the crowd there on the floor of this arena, at the stage at the front. So this will begin very, very soon. You see the podium, but also the table there where he will sign all of these different executive actions in place. The crowd there anticipating getting their camera phones out, ready to capture this moment, likely their first glimpse of President Trump since being sworn in several hours ago now in our nation's capital. All right, let's continue to listen in to some of these reception for this event here in Washington, D.C. No music being played at this moment, but people taking their seats on the stage is a good sign of things to come. Of course, we were talking about that inauguration speech. Felt more like a State of the Union. And from the start, Trump's speech tracked his campaign rally approach. Big promises of national success due to his leadership, with plenty of sweeping indictments of the status quo. He said in that, the golden age of America begins right now. He added several more promises saying, quote, the start of a thrilling new era, a nation, quote, greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. Those were some of the remarks saying, quote, our sovereignty will be reclaimed, our safety will be restored, the scales of justice will be rebalanced. Our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. Let's listen back in here live now from Fox.
I just want everyone to know that I'm not a Republican, nor am I a Democrat. I am
playing. People are encouraged to find their seats as the ceremony about to begin here in a matter of moments. You can see the lighting being prepared, plenty of people aware and ready for what's to come. Photographers getting their camera phones out, different people having this on social media, posting that they were there the day that President Trump was sworn in for a second time. So, of course, we're also monitoring just this shot. You can see different people arriving there. His daughter, Ivanka Trump, signing some autographs. Laura Trump there, as well as his two sons, Don Jr. and Eric as well, Barron, his son as well. So all arriving for this event. So it is just a matter of moments before they begin this parade. Some remarks and also a major flurry, major wave of executive actions on day one. Let's just listen into this moment here. A historic day on Live Now from Fox. Continue to watch and wait as the children there for President Trump have arrived. So it's only a matter of moments before Donald J. Trump takes the stage during this inauguration day at Capital One Arena. And like we heard so many times, a little bit different of a format. Michael Whatley, the RNC chairman, at attendance for this alongside Florida Representative Byron Donalds. We also heard from both of these individuals just earlier on today. Plenty of different events that we've been keeping track of, but a lot of pomp, a lot of circumstance, despite the kind of different nature of it due to the cold weather outside. So all of it being taking place indoors to make sure people are safe, both the candidates, both Trump and some of his family, but also the supporters of Donald Trump, making sure they aren't standing outside in frigid, freezing temperatures for hours on end for the inauguration, for the parade. It is gone on all day since roughly 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time. So you can see people arriving for this, cheering on and talking about some of the children of Donald Trump. So you can hear some music beginning. So let's just listen in here on Live Now from Fox. All right, the band continues to go in and out a little bit, and you can only imagine what they're reacting to as they put different figures on that Jumbotron at the heart of this arena. As you can see, giving thumbs up there, Don Jr. We did see Barron Drum give everyone a wave as well, chants for his name. You can see the Jumbotron there on your screen as it pans down and people react in real time the way they do at almost a sporting event. So we're still waiting here, President-elect, or I should say now on Inauguration Day. I need to get out of that habit. Is President Donald Trump for a second term in the White House. Inauguration Day in full swing, and his administration hard at work already. And we talked about the executive actions being put in place. And I want to read off a list of them to you because they are very extensive. As he will declare a national emergency at the southern border, will end catch and release for migrants, will reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, will resume border wall construction, and will designate the cartels as global terrorists, suspending refugee resettlement for 4 months, ending birthright citizenship, will direct the military to prioritize borders, will also enhance border vetting and screening. We'll go on to say during the speech earlier today that Trump will define gender as 2 sexes. He will also end federal DEI programs, will declare a national energy emergency, talking about ending leasing to wind farms and withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. Also order the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, rename Mount Denali to Mount McKinley, and also decide order reinstating expelled service members dating back to COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. So those are just a few of the sweeping executive actions, executive orders that he will likely sign on this, and we will have to really untangle all of those over the next weeks, over the next 4 years as we follow this Trump presidency for a second straight time. All right, let's just continue to listen in here to this as the parade will begin, remarks will begin, plenty to get to still here on Inauguration Day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 50th Vice President of the United States of America, Vice President J.D. Vance, accompanied by the Second Lady, Mrs. Usha Vance.
Chance of J.D. Vance as he walks down that aisle, the red carpet to the stage with his 3 children there and his wife, Usha, as the vice president also there taking the oath earlier on today. We heard some of his comments saying he really didn't know what Trump was going to say to start this inaugural address, but starts it in a flurry, a fast-paced, a breakneck speed to start this second term as president. And you can see there the curtain in place, as soon enough we'll see President Trump walking through that down to the crowd for the first time alongside his wife. Let's listen in. You just saw there President Trump on this historic day walking down to the stage, as we'll soon sign a wave of executive orders, shaking the hands of supporters talking to some of them on their way down on this red carpet entrance to the stage. Really the first time that the general public, some of the supporters, have seen him, as this inauguration, due to the frigid temperatures, was held indoors inside of that Capitol Rotunda. Lawmakers, tech titans, different VIPs in attendance, but no real supporters. So this is the first time they are getting a glimpse at him since being sworn into office. Let's continue to listen back in here from Capital One Arena in our nation's capital. Just listening in as they honor that individual that lost their lives during the first assassination attempt of President Trump back in Butler, Pennsylvania during a campaign rally. So a really incredible way to honor him at this inauguration, this inaugural parade there. So many different people. You see Butler County emblazoned across all of these signs walking in. Corey Comparator, they're honored at this event just hours after Trump was sworn in. Let's continue to listen in.
We're here to pay homage to the life, selfless community service, and sacrifice of Corey Comparator. Mr. Comparator, a 10-year U.S. Army Reserve veteran and past fire chief to the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Company, who died during the assassination attempt on the life of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, July 13th, 2024. Their formation consists of Pennsylvania State Police, local police, county sheriffs, emergency services unit, EMS, 911 radio dispatch, and hospital personnel, who all heroically stepped into action during the horrific attack. They are also paying tribute to the courageous service of first responders nationwide. Ladies and gentlemen, at this very special event, let us now take a moment of silence in honor of Corey Comparator. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Military Academy from Cornwall-on-Hudson, New York. New York Military Academy stands out due to its unique connection to the president himself. President Trump is a 1964 graduate and has been enshrined as one of our alumni of distinction. This historic academy has been named the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, that's JROTC, and are marching with their cadet dress uniforms. Look at these, all modeled after post-World War I General Blackjack Pershing's gray uniform. Introducing the Palm Beach Police and Fire Honor Guard unit, representing the town of Palm Beach, Florida. This group consists of police officers and firefighters from the town of Palm Beach, home to some of the most prestigious people in the world, including President Donald J. Trump. The band has had the distinct honor to perform at the 75th commemoration of the attack on Pearl Harbor in Oahu, Hawaii. The band has also played for hospitalized children, military veterans, as well as the 1980 and 2005 Presidential Inaugural Parades, and His Holiness Pope John Paul II. The NYPD Emerald Society Pipes and Drums formed way back in 1960. And you know, they are the oldest, largest police pipe band in the United States, comprised of all active and retired police officers of various ranks and assignments. Listen to those bagpipes. Let's hear it for it, folks. that hits close to home for our Vice President. We now welcome the Middletown High School Marching Band and cheerleaders. They're traveling all the way from Middletown, Ohio to proudly represent their school, our nation, and outstanding alumni, including our new Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. The band has performed in countless parades, community and sporting events, as well as competitions. They have also always qualified for the Ohio Music Educators Association state finals for 23 years straight. How about that? And have earned the highest rating in 18 of those appearances. Woo! And today they performed America's Sweet Land of Liberty. Cheer here in the arena. Let's cheer for him again, folks. From our VP hometown, Middletown High School Marching Band. traveling from Boca Raton, Florida, the Florida Firefighters Pipes and Drums. And they are well seasoned when it comes to civic events. They've played and participated in parades, memorials, and other ceremonial events across both the United States and Europe. Today, they are wearing their most notable uniforms. What a great photo opportunity. Consisting of the Glengarry headgear and kilts. And they are proud to honor their fallen brothers and sisters each and every day. As the Florida Firefighters Pipes and Drums leave the arena, we keep the rhythm and the drums going. Please welcome the Stewart's Creek High School Marching Band. Traveling all the way from Smyrna, Tennessee, they are proud to represent the volunteer state of the 2025 Presidential Inaugural Parade. of the Drums continues. Established in 2013, that band has rapidly become one of Tennessee's premier high school music programs. This band has participated in numerous civic events that honor significant moments in our nation's history, like the 75th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, Captain Jeff Kuss, United States Marine Corps Memorial Dedication, Chicago Thanksgiving Day Parade, and a Lincoln Memorial performance as well. The Stewart's Creek High School Marching Band, everybody. Big and Phil, welcome here in D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, now welcoming the Mississippi Valley State University Band. They're traveling all the way from Edabita, Mississippi. Look at this, gang. This is the Mean Green Marching Machine. They are proud to represent historically black colleges and universities at the 60th Presidential Inauguration. close to 300 from the Mississippi Valley State University Band. You know, since its founding, the band has consistently played a significant role at their university and across the United States. They have performed for athletic events, Mardi Gras parades, Rose Bowl parades, and many, many more. The Mississippi Valley State University Band takes great pride in presenting culturally diverse presentations for students, faculty, and the surrounding Mississippi communities. Take a look at that brass out there. Woo! That's just part of the big green marching machine. The Mean Green Marching Machine from Itabena, Mississippi, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our new special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff.
Good evening, everybody. I was appointed by President Trump to be the special envoy for peace in the Middle East. And I'd like to describe to you some of the things we're doing and how it informs on President Trump's policies. First of all, it is an honor to stand before you today as I reflect on the enormity of the role that President Trump has tasked me with. I am constantly reminded of the privilege it is to serve under the leadership of my boss, President Donald J. Trump. His presidency has provided a clear, bold vision for the Middle East, and it is this vision that guides every step I take in the mission. President Trump's leadership has redefined what is possible in the pursuit of progress and stability in the Middle East. His decisive, pragmatic approach ensures that even the most entrenched conflicts are met with fresh perspectives and innovative strategies. His policies have already delivered remarkable successes, such as yesterday's release of hostages in Gaza. Thank you. This achievement demonstrates the strength of President Trump's leadership and the respect he commands on the global stage. It is yet another example of his ability to deliver results in the most complex and challenging situations. The Abraham Accords, a testament to his vision and determination, have also brought historic progress to the region, transforming old rivalries into new alliances. These agreements are not merely symbolic. They represent a practical roadmap for peace, economic cooperation, and mutual respect across nations. My role, as President Trump has tasked me, is straightforward yet profoundly challenging: to turn his vision into actionable outcomes. He sets the agenda, he lays the framework, and he inspires people like me into bold action. My responsibility is to implement his vision, engaging with leaders across the region to find pathways towards sustainable peace and stability. And let me tell you, having Donald Trump as a boss makes this task not only possible, but far more effective. President Trump's reputation as a leader who delivers results resonates far beyond Washington. Leaders in the Middle East know he means what he says. His ability to cut through bureaucratic gridlock and focus on tangible results is the game changer. It allows me to approach delicate negotiations with the confidence that the full weight of the United States is behind me. The principles President Trump has laid out for our approach to the Middle East and foreign policy in general are fourfold, and they are clear. 1, respect for sovereignty. Every nation deserves the right to determine its own destiny, free from the interference of external powers. 2, economic prosperity as a bridge to stability. Through economic partnerships and investment, we can build a foundation for cooperation that transcends historical grievances. 3, courageous diplomacy. Real progress requires difficult conversations and bold decisions, and it is through these that trust is built and maintained. And finally, 4, reciprocity and accountability. The United States requires reciprocal actions from our partners. We are done carrying the financial burden for nations that are unwilling We are done carrying the financial burden for nations that are unwilling to fund their own progress. The days of blank checks are over. Partnerships under President Trump's leadership must be equitable, and contributions must reflect shared commitments to our goals. In my work, I've seen firsthand how these principles resonate. They provide a foundation that transcends politics and speaks to the shared humanity of all people in a region. Leaders across the Middle East recognize that this Trump administration is serious about results, not symbolic gestures, but real, meaningful progress that improves lives. Thank you. It's not always easy. There are moments of deep challenge and frustration. Decades of mistrust cannot be undone overnight. Yet I take comfort in knowing that I am not in this alone. President Trump's clarity of vision ensures that I never have to question what success looks like. His leadership provides the confidence and direction necessary to navigate these complexities. As we move forward, my commitment is to continue the work of advancing President Trump's vision for the Middle East. Whether through expanding the Abraham Peace Accords, fostering economic development, or facilitating dialogue between long-standing adversaries, my focus remains on actionable results. Let me close by saying this: a stable and prosperous Middle East is not an unattainable dream. It is a goal within our reach, made possible by strong leadership and unwavering commitment. Under President Trump's guidance, we are proving that the impossible can become reality. Thank you, but I have one more thing to say. We have some special people for me to introduce you to tonight. President Trump has been talking to them as well. They are the families of hostages from Israel who have been in Gaza for the last year and a half. There are many of them here today. Several of the families have lost children and loved ones, and they're here because they're part of an effort to retrieve their bodies so they can be buried in a proper way. Several have children who are still in captivity. There is an American family here whose loved one is scheduled to come out in 14 days, and they're going to be meeting the president tonight. So let's give them all some love and a big hand. Come on up.
Bring them home.
And now, I get to introduce my dear friend and the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. So now the work begins. We won, but now the work begins. We have to bring them home. And, you know, tonight I'm going to be signing on the J6 hostages, pardons, to get them out. And as soon as I leave, I'm going to the Oval Office and we'll be signing pardons for a lot of people, a lot of people. And thank you to Steve Witkoff. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine. He's been a very successful man. He's a great negotiator. He's a wonderful guy. People love him. And he's got a tremendous power of persuasion. And that's what we need. We don't need stiffs. We don't need stiffs. We got a lot of stiffs. You just had a whole load of them. And to the former hostages with us today, welcome. And welcome home. Some of the folks are former hostages, not a good situation. The three young ladies that came home yesterday, you saw that. More coming home every day now. They're coming home. But they were hurt. They were hurt. They were hurt. One had her head blown off, fingers on her hand, and her hand indeed was blown off. She was trying to defend herself from a bullet being fired. Do you believe this? A bullet knocked off her hand. I don't know. You look at it, it's a disgrace. We never stopped praying for you, and we're so glad that you're reunited with your friends and families, and God bless you all. And some of them are just saying, no, my son is gone. But please just bring home his body, right, Steve? Many of you have told me that your son is gone, but bring home his body. It should have never happened. 3 years, it's ridiculous. Should have never happened. Wouldn't have happened. I also want to express my tremendous gratitude to the hundreds of thousands of proud American patriots who came from all across the country to join us in this celebration. It's a celebration of a big win. And you're witnessing the dawn of the golden age of America. That's what it's going to be. We're bringing it back. We're going to bring it back fast. We're going to bring it back fast. Let us also thank the incredible service members, National Guardsmen, Police, Secret Service, and law enforcement personnel who are keeping us all safe, even though they are great people. New York's finest. I grew up with New York's finest, and we got to give them their authority back. You won't have any crime. There'll be no crime. You give them little authority back. The whole way they run things in this country now, it's disgraceful. But it's going to change rapidly. We're going to make our cities safe again, too. Even though we're indoors, we've had a magnificent inaugural parade. And let's give a big round of applause. They were great. To all of the incredible performers and hardworking men and women who made it possible. Those people, really talented, amazing people. I also want to thank my wonderful family for being here, especially my beautiful wife, our First Lady, Melania. They love our First Lady. And also, J.D. How good has J.D. been? And his beautiful wife, Usha. How good is J.B.? J.D. has been great. He's another good negotiator, Steve. He's a great negotiator, too. We need negotiators in this country. But so many of the people on the stage behind, not only family members, as an example, Lara Trump, the wife of Eric. She was the head of the Republican Party, along with my friend Michael. Stand up, the two of you. What a job. What a job they did. They worked so hard. They knew they'd be rigging, but they said, we're going to make it too big to rig, and we did. We made it too big to rig. We won every swing state by a lot. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won the whole ball of wax. And now we're going to go and drill, baby, drill, and do all the things that we've wanted to do and bring your costs down, your prices down, and make our country safe. So thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much. What a job you've done, Michael. I'm never moving you, you know. He was thinking about getting a nice job in the administration. I said, no, I'm leaving you right where you are. You've done a very good job. We're not moving you, Michael. I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Right here with us also in the arena, I'm about to sign some very important executive orders of our new administration. Hey, Don, will you stand up, please? Don is another one. How about Don? This guy. He's a popular one. He goes out and speaks. He gets a big crowd. He's a little on the rough side sometimes, but that's what you want. He's done a fantastic job, and he loves our country. Thanks, Don. Great job. You've done a great job. And Ivanka. And, you know, Jared negotiated the Abraham Accords, which are the biggest deal made in the Middle East in many, many years, and it's really something. Jared, stand up, Jared. The Abraham Accords. And Tiffany's going to have a little baby. And Michael. And then I have a very tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him? Thank you. He knew the youth vote. You know, we won the youth vote by 36 points. And he was saying, Dad, you got to go out and do this one and that one. And we did a lot of them. And he respects them all. He understood them very well. And he said, Dad, you got to go out, do Joe Rogan, do all these guys. And we did. We did. And Joe Rogan was great. They were all great, right? Aaron, they were all good. He understood the market. Another famous one, how about Kai? Stand up, Kai. Is that Byron Donalds back there? Stand up, Byron. Stand up. What a future this one has. What a future. That's great, Byron. Thank you very much. And how about Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce? He's going to take in more money. than any country has ever even thought about. He's going to take in some money. And we have many others. Look, I'm not going to go through it, but we're going to sign some orders right now, and that's really what I want to do. So we're going to sign executive orders. First, I'll revoke nearly 80 destructive and radical executive actions of the previous administration, one of the worst administrations in history. Maybe not one of them, the worst. Anybody that would allow millions of people to pour through our borders from jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, gang members to be taken off the streets of Venezuela and deposited in our country, and many, not just Venezuela. You know, crime in Venezuela is down 74% because they took their criminals and gave them to us through an open border policy of the previous administration. All over the world, they're emptying their prisons into our country. They're emptying their mental institutions into our country. It stops as of 1 o'clock this afternoon, okay? It stops. So I'm revoking nearly 80 destructive, radical executive actions of the previous administration. They'll all be null and void within about, what, 5 minutes? Is that them over there? 5 minutes? And next, to gain immediate control of the vast federal, out-of-control bureaucracy, I will implement an immediate regulation freeze, which will stop Biden bureaucrats from continuing to regulate. Most of those bureaucrats are being fired. They're gone. Should be all of them, but some sneak through, but we have to live with a couple, I guess. I'll also issue a temporary hiring freeze to ensure that we're only hiring competent people who are faithful to the American public. And we will pause the hiring of any new IRS agents. We will also require that federal workers must return to the office in person. And we're going to take the 88,000 people that they hired to go after you with guns. By the way, they're allowed to use guns and harass you like they were so many other people. Remember this. Okay, remember? Do you remember a little statement about tips? Does anybody remember that little statement? I think we won Nevada because of that statement. But they went out and harassed you over the tips. In other words, we are restoring control of our government to the people. We're going to take those 88,000. Let's see if they'd like to work on the border, because that's where we want them, really. So we're going to have no tax on tips, right? No tax on tips. We may have, like the Speaker of the House, is he here? He's done such a good job. Is Mike here? He's around here someplace. I saw him just a little while ago. Hello, fellas. Look at you guys. Yeah, I know it. He's great. He's doing great. They're all doing good. The Republican Party has never been unified like it is right now. They want to save our country. And we're going to more than save it. We're going to make it greater than it's ever been before by a lot. Next, I'm going to sign a presidential memorandum directing every member of my cabinet to marshal every power at their disposal to defeat inflation and rapidly bring down the cost of daily life, because your costs have gone through the roof in the last 4 years. Perhaps you didn't notice. Does anyone notice their costs are like double, triple, quadruple? You can't buy bacon. Apples have doubled in price. You want an apple, anybody? Pay twice what you did 2 years ago. We'll put more money in your pocket, and we'll bring back the American dream and to reduce energy costs and liberate our economy. So we have more oil and gas than any country in the world, and we're going to use it. We're not going to do the wind thing. Big, ugly windmills, they ruin your neighborhood, they ruin you. If you have a house that's near a windmill, guess what? Your house is worth less than half. And did you see up in New England with the whales? You see what's happening? So they had 2 whales killed in about 14 years. Last year and the year before, total, they had 28. So if you're into whales, you don't want windmills either. And they're the most expensive form of energy that you can have by far. And they're all made in China, by the way, practically all of them. And they kill your birds and they ruin your beautiful landscapes. But other than that, I think they're quite good, right? Now, remember when we used to joke and kid when we were kidding, but we don't kid anymore? They want to watch the debates on television. They want to watch your favorite president on television. But the wind isn't blowing, so we can't watch television that night, Gladys. Remember? Gladys, I'm sorry, the wind is just not blowing. We're not watching Trump tonight. But I'm immediately withdrawing from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord ripoff. The United States will not sabotage our own industries while China pollutes with impunity. You know, China, I mean, look, they use a lot of dirty energy, but they produce a lot of energy. And when that stuff goes up in the air, you know, it doesn't stay there. It's not like you got a wall. We love walls, don't we? Not like you have a wall around and it doesn't. It floats into the United States of America after 3.5 to 5.5 days. It floats across the oceans, and it comes right over your neighborhood, and it falls into your neighborhood. So they all say, we have to fight for cleaner air, but the other dirty air is dropping all over us, so what the hell are they talking about? Unless everybody does it, it just doesn't work. You know, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water that this country's ever had under the Trump administration, and we didn't do anything to stop jobs and stop production. Believe me, you're going to see a lot of companies come pouring back because tariffs. I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary. Then I was reprimanded by the fake news. They said, what about love, religion, and God? I said, I agree. Let's put God number one. Let's put religion number two. Love, I don't know. We got to put that number 3, I guess, right? And then it's tariff, because tariffs are going to make us rich as hell. It's going to bring our country's businesses back that left us. And I'll also sign an executive order to immediately end federal government censorship of the American people. In America, we believe in free speech, and we're bringing it back starting today. To stop the weaponization. Oh, do I know about that? These creeps. Deranged Jack Smith. You ever hear of him? Deranged. He's a deranged prosecutor. He's sick. They suck him on me. He's now been reduced to getting on an airplane, going back to The Hague or wherever the hell he came from. We got to get rid of that guy. Hey, was he one of the many people that got a pardon today? Did they pardon Jack Smith? You know, did you know that Biden, while I was making my speech, pardoned his whole family? The brother, the whole deal was pardoned. Can you imagine that? While I was making my speech. Did everybody hear my speech? Did you like my speech? Thank you. I mean, the only thing wrong with it is I had a lot of tough things to say, and I have some great people that work for me. Sir, this is such a great speech. It's so unifying. Don't talk about Biden with his pardons of his family. We want a unified country. They said, don't talk about the J6 hostages that you're going to be releasing today. Sir, don't put that in your speech, please. I said, but I want to put it in my speech. They said, sir, it won't be unified like it is. It's so beautiful the way it is. And it is getting great reviews. You know, if I put things like that in, I'll get terrible reviews. One little paragraph that's a little bit wrong, the fake news goes crazy, right? So I said, all right, I won't put it in my speech, but you know what? I'm speaking in front of a hell of a lot of people at a place called Capital One Arena, and I'll talk about it there. So we're going to be going over the beautiful Oval Office, one of the great offices in history. Even if it wasn't beautiful, it's the Oval Office, but it is beautiful. And we love the Oval Office. It all starts with the wars start and end there. Everything starts and ends at the Oval Office. We love it. But we're going to go to the Oval Office. We're going to release our great hostages that didn't do, for the most part, they didn't do stuff wrong. You take a look at what went on, and look what happens in other parts of the country. In Portland, where they kill people, they destroy the city, nothing happens to them. In Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city, nothing happened. Minneapolis, where they burned down the city, nothing happened. Essentially, nothing happened. All they want to do is go after the J6 hostages. A 76-year-old grandmother was arrested the other day because she was looking at the Capitol or something like that. No, we're not going to put up with that crap anymore. And to stop the weaponization of law enforcement, I've been investigated more than any human being in the world. I believe I have the all-time record. Every day a subpoena. Every single day would get subpoenas. I was more than any person. Alphonse Capone, remember I used to talk about it? Now, Alphonse Capone, Scarface, he was a pretty rough guy. He was investigated about 1/100th what Trump was investigated. My father's looking down at me, my mother, how the hell did this happen? You know what it is? They investigated their political opponent, the opponent of Biden, and then ultimately Kamala. Has anyone ever heard of Kamala? We had to beat two opponents, you know? We had to beat Biden, then we beat him. Now he goes on top. The guy was like 39 points down. I think I could have beaten Trump. They should have left me in. I would have beaten. No, his debate performance wasn't the best, right? That's what killed him. And then they had to change, and that's like you get into a fight. The great Dana White spoke last night. We love Dana White, right? UFC. That's like he puts in two fighters, one of them's getting creamed, getting really beaten, and they say, all right, take him out, let's put somebody else in to finish up the fight. That's what they did to us. They gave us somebody new, but we took care of both of them. So we beat actually two opponents. But to stop the weaponization of law enforcement and our government, I will also sign an order directing every federal agency to preserve all records pertaining to political persecutions under the last administration, of which there were many, and beginning the process of exposing any and all abuses of power, even though he's pardoned many of these people. Can you believe it? He's pardoned them. You know why he did it while I was speaking? Because that way I couldn't speak about it. I was speaking. I didn't know he did it. I finished my speech, and they said, sir, he pardoned his whole family. I said, oh, can I go back out there and talk about it? Somehow that wouldn't be very elegant. Our First Lady would say, please don't do that. But we have plenty of time to talk about it, and we will. We're doing all of this on our very first day in office. You know, don't forget, we've been in this position, really, where we won the primaries in record time. We were the fastest win of a primary ever in political history, which is a very nice thing. It's nice to know. Well, the second election was rigged, so we knew we were doing well. And if it wasn't, you know what? If it wasn't, I would have never run. But the third one was just a monster. Boy, was that a big one, huh? That was a big one. On the second one, we got like 10 or 12 million votes more than the first one. How about that? We did great on the first one. We did much better on the second one. But bad did we do well on the third one. So we're gonna have some fun. It's very simple. We're gonna make our country great. We're gonna make our country great again. We're gonna make America great again. How good a name is MAGA, though, right? you know? I was going to say, keep America great, but unfortunately it wasn't great. Can't say keep it great. It will be great again, but CAG, keep America great, CAG, I don't think it's ever going to replace MAGA. Does anybody like CAG? I don't think so. It's never replacing MAGA. Nothing will ever replace MAGA. MAGA was the most successful political operation, political movement in the history of our country, maybe in the history of the world. Let's see what happens, because we're not finished yet. We're not finished yet. We got a long way to go. But we're doing this on the very first day in office, and in just a few moments, I'm not only signing the release of the J6 hostages, I'm signing other things that you're going to love. Oh, you're going to be happy reading newspapers tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So I just want to thank, I mean, look at this place. It's full to the rafters. You don't have any, look at those people up there. You don't have any empty seats. And by the way, the Capital One owners, they are so good. We got to root for their teams because they have been so great to MAGA, to us. And I just want to thank Ted and everybody. You guys have been fantastic. And the ice hockey team's doing great. Ovechkin's pretty good, right? They're doing great. So I want to thank them, Capital One arena owners. They have been absolutely fantastic. And thank you once again to everyone. And I can only tell you, you're going to be very happy. You're going to watch a lot of good things happen. We got to stop some wars that are happening and going on. Some stupid things are happening. The war with Ukraine would have never happened, and it has. As you know, Israel would have never been hit on October 7th, and none of you would be up here. None of you would even know anything about this tragedy that you're going through right now. But Iran was broke. Anybody that bought oil from Iran, they couldn't do any business with us. You're not going to do business with America. China passed, everybody passed, they were broke. They didn't have money for Hamas, they didn't have money for Hezbollah. And your sons would be alive, and they certainly wouldn't be incarcerated like they are. It's a shame, but we're getting a lot of people out in a short period of time. So I'm going to go right over to here, and I'm going to sign in front of you. Is that okay? Good.
We don't have it over here yet, sir. We'll have it for you back at the oval. The first is the rescissions of 78 Biden-era EOs and presidential memoranda.
You want to call it out? Do you want to say it? Do you want to say it?
Oh, if you want me to, sir.
Why don't you say what I'm signing?
Sure. The first item that President Trump is signing is the rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sir, can I have a pen?
The next item, sir, is a freeze on all federal hiring, excepting the military and a number of other excluded categories, again, until full control of the government is achieved and we understand the objectives of government going forward. Sir, the next item, as you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately. Thank you, sir. Next, we have a directive to every department and agency in the federal government to address the cost of living crisis that has cost Americans so dearly. Thank you, sir. The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. Yes, sir. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty. And the next item, sir, is a letter that will be transmitted to the United Nations explaining that we are withdrawing from the Paris Climate Treaty. Thank you, sir. This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech going forward. And lastly, sir, before we go back to the Oval Office to sign a large number of other items, is a directive to the federal government ending the weaponization of government against the political adversaries of the previous administration, as we've seen. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Pretty fun job.
You're just seeing them wrap this up as Trump signs that flurry of executive orders after this inaugural parade at Capital One Arena there in the heart of Washington, D.C. And I believe that's the last time we'll really hear likely Trump speak. But he's going to go back to the Oval Office. Plenty of work still to do. As he mentioned, just those more executive orders, but also potentially pardoning some January 6th defendants. We'll see if that comes down tonight. We'll keep an eye on it. But you can see plenty of people leaving the stage. A busy day on Inauguration, a Monday here that we're following on live now from Fox for the second term of Donald Trump. So a new look inside of that, not really done previously in the past with just some of these inaugurations, but frigid temperatures, snow on the ground. Certainly the reason behind why they held the inauguration, the swearing in, not outside the Capitol steps, but inside the Capitol Rotunda. And of course, we are following it in full here on Live Now from Fox, just what was taking place. And I almost want to take you back because it was an interesting sight to see him toss the pens that he just signed, these executive orders, into the crowd there at Capital One Arena. So, of course, he's heading back to the Oval Office. We'll likely see it on the motorcade, as we'll likely go outside very, very soon to watch it unfold in real time. Day number one for President Trump in his second term there in Washington, D.C. And let's go back right now really quickly here to that final moment of him signing these executive orders. And let me list them for you if you missed it, talking about 78 revisions of executive orders made by President Biden, a regulatory freeze, a freeze on federal hiring, a return to full-time in-person work, cost of living crisis, an executive order on that. Also, the main one that got the most cheers, the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord there, also a letter to the UN, also reverting free speech and the censorship, so getting back to free speech and certainly the First Amendment, and also the ending of the weaponization of government against political adversaries. So those were just some of the moments inside of that initial batch of executive orders. So again, a live look there inside of this Capital One Arena, signing those new executive orders, and also sending the pens to the crowd of supporters, cheers, and the like inside of this. So let's take you out just really briefly, because it was a moment to behold there for this the second Trump term. Let's just watch him as he hands it over to the crowd and listen back in one more time. You can see there people taking pictures of this pen that just signed some of those executive orders. And of course, we talked about the executive orders, but we're also learning about new pieces of legislation, including the Laken-Riley Act that passed the Senate tonight while this event was going on, and also there with the first part of his cabinet, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. We heard from Senator Chuck Schumer on the floor just a little bit ago saying that he would vote in favor of the appointment, the nomination there of Marco Rubio. So that is now in place. So, of course, we're following it all very closely. A busy day throughout it. Thank you so much for tuning in for all of these events here on Live Now from Fox for what we were following for Inauguration Day, a historic day there as Trump left the stage, heading back to the Oval Office, back into his office for a second term. Again, a live picture inside of that Capital One Arena. You can see the shot going a little bit shaky, but we also have this one high atop as the crowd filtering out. But it was good that they made sure people were in good condition, not concerned about just the well-being of people, very concerned about the well-being of people due to all of those frigid temperatures there in our nation's capital on this day. So watching it unfold, the swearing in, a historic day. We talked about the pomp and circumstance of it all unfolding in real time in that Capitol Rotunda, certainly reminiscent of what happened back in 1985. Of course, I also want to put up this here on Live Now from Fox of some of these executive actions in place, talking about the revisions of those 78 Biden-era executive orders, the regulatory freeze, a freeze on federal hiring, all federal workers returning to the office, the cost of living crisis, the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord, a letter to the UN about this withdrawal, the freedom of speech, no more censorship, and also talking about the end of the weaponization of government. All right, let's take you right now out to our Fox 5 team on the ground in Washington, D.C. as they figure out what's going on here on this Inauguration Day, wrapping it up from our nation's capital.
Bush and Obama. And during the ceremony, President Trump sworn in by Chief Justice Roberts and Vice President J.D. Vance sworn in by Justice Brett Kavanaugh. President Trump now the only second commander-in-chief to serve non-consecutive terms. In his inaugural address, the president laying out an optimistic vision of where he plans to lead the country, saying America is entering a new era of national success.
Earthly king.
And following the inaugural ceremony, President Trump and the First Lady attending a luncheon at Statuary Hall. Just moments ago, President Trump signing a host of executive orders inside of Capital One Arena, including items concerning immigration and energy, as well as the pardon of some January 6 defendants.
We have team coverage for you tonight on this historic day.
Josh Rosenthal joining us live near Capital One Arena with reaction to the inaugural parade and so much that just concluded minutes ago. Hi, Josh.
Hey guys, yeah, we've got reaction coming up in just a minute. First, though, I do want to point out, it feels like, at least down here by Capital One Arena, that's the arena there in the distance, you can see the big screen up there, it does feel like a bit of a transitory period. I say that for a few different reasons. One, the event just wrapped up. You can see here behind me all these gates and stuff, this whole huge security apparatus that was up for much of the day. It's coming down now. Also, one other thing that we've seen, you know, a lot of these balls are starting to happen. People are starting to get ready for them. That means you see people in tuxedos and ball gowns. In fact, we were in a McDonald's a few blocks over, just staying warm during some of those speeches, and we saw a number of people in the McDonald's in tuxes, in ball gowns. They're looking good. Let me introduce you to a couple of people we just met. This is Jeff and Leslie. They're from Little Rock, Arkansas. I lived in Little Rock for a couple of years. Wonderful place. Now, you guys were telling me you weren't able to get into Capital One Arena despite having tickets. However, you stayed out here. You dealt with the cold so you could watch it on the big screen, right? What'd you think? What's your reaction?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the energy, and I love how excited everybody is and how everybody's come together.
Jeff, what'd you think?
I think the same. We love the energy of Donald Trump. We've been to several rallies, and this is just like another pep rally of what we hope to see for the next 4 years. We hope to see some unification, some healing, and some good things.
Hey, Trayvon, don't forget to roll.
Donald has put God back into the USA. Yes.
You know, switching gears just a little bit. Like I said, I lived in Little Rock. I know you guys get some cold, but you don't get cold like this. Take me through the decision-making process, deciding to stay out here in it and watch this whole event from the outside, looking in.
Well, believe it or not, last week we had this same weather in Little Rock. It looks like
no, you didn't.
Oh, we had 9 inches.
We
of
brought
snow.
it.
We had 9 inches of snow right before we came. So
9 inches?
Yes.
We got to get up over here to get away
This is a big story here too, guys. Jeff,
But we did come to the one 8 years ago.
And that's our big decision to
It was
come
so
this
much
time.
fun, so that's why we wanted to come back.
Pleasure to have you both back in D.C. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Guys, that's the scene right now out here outside of Capital One. For now, back to you.
All right, seems like some people having fun despite the cold weather.
Yeah, definitely.
Arshan Rajay also outside of Capital One Arena, where we know that the crowds that could not get in, they had to settle with being out there.
And Sharon, we know that people were actually throwing all of their stuff and belongings because they couldn't take bags inside, and they just left it there.
All right, what you were listening to right there was some of our Fox 5 DC team's coverage, but I do want to bring you out to a live image that we have. That right there is President Donald Trump as he is traveling back over to the White House. Again, we have been taking just some of our different coverage from our affiliates that are out there, gathering all the details and bringing us all of the different images. Now, again, President Trump is traveling back to the White House. There's a lot left to go on. We've been going all throughout the day, but a lot more to come here as we know that Trump is going to head over to the official inaugural balls. Trump expected to attend all 3 of them, the Commander-in-Chief Ball, the Liberty Ball, and the Starlight Ball. Trump expected to speak at each one of those locations. And as always, we're going to bring those to you live, raw, and uninterrupted here on Live Now from Fox. President Trump will also take part in the first dance with First Lady, his wife Melania Trump, at all 3 of those locations. So technically, the first 3 dances between the president and First Lady. All of this, I will tell you, is slated to end around 10 o'clock tonight Eastern time. But based on the current schedule here, it appears that we are just a little bit behind. So it's possible this could go until possibly as late as midnight. Either way, I'm going to be here to guide you through all of it and to listen into all the sound as it does get underway. We'll have you covered until the morning when it all ends. Also important to note that these inaugural balls have been part of the celebration surrounding the inauguration since all the way back in 1789. So they're not anything new necessarily, but they became more formal with the first official inaugural ball taking place in 1809 under then President James Madison. Just some fun facts here if you are joining us on this Monday, January 20th at 7:06 on the East Coast and 4:06 on the West Coast. Now, the Commander-in-Chief Ball is geared toward military service members. The Liberty Ball attended by really any kind of Trump supporter there, and the Starlight Ball usually includes those high-profile donors of the new president. There are going to be a lot of performances here. The Liberty Ball will feature Jason Aldean, Nelly, and the Village People, and that's just to name a few here. The Commander-in-Chief Ball will include performances from Rascal Flatts and Parker McCollum. Gavin DeGraw will sing at the Starlight Ball. Again, you are watching as President Trump now heads over to the White House, where he is expected to sign even more executive orders. I do want to pop up this image right here on your screen as well. What you're going to see is the setup here, and I'm trying to figure out which one. You can actually hear the music there in the background, so we're going to take you out there live in just a second, but trying to figure out which of the three balls this is here. So it doesn't say just yet, but we know, again, you do have the Liberty Ball, you have the Starlight Ball, and the Commander-in-Chief Ball. I want to say it's the Liberty Ball right there, but again, you can see everything is set up and ready to go as it will get underway in just a matter of moments. Again, we'll take you there. We should also have some of the live images coming in from inside the White House as President Trump signs more executive orders. Let's take you back to that image right here as he is traveling back to his new home there at the White House. I want to talk about some of those executive orders that we did see him sign moments ago. He was kind of shouting out what they were, but I do want to go over them all together because some of them included halting 78 Biden-era executive actions, a regulatory freeze preventing bureaucrats from issuing regulations until the Trump administration has full control of the government, a freeze on all federal hiring except for military and a few other essential areas, a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work, a directive to every department and agency to address the cost of living crisis, withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty, a government order restoring freedom of speech and preventing censorship of free speech, ending the, quote, weaponization of government against the political adversaries of the previous administration. Obviously can't necessarily see President Donald Trump there in his vehicle as they are traveling back to the White House, but that happening right now. I also, as I mentioned, we're going to check in with our Fox 5 DC team for a look at their coverage. However, it's been a while since we've snuck in a quick 2-minute commercial break, so let's do that, and we will be right back.